If you're having breathing difficulties, then sit down and catch your breath to one of my lip art videos.
Mishti Max.
Hi, I'm Mishti Max, and I'm here to take you to a post-apocalyptic future that converged from a more innocent time before industrial decline led to this digital age, where simple pleasures can be lost. Allow yourself to be captivated by this 19th century industrial-inspired steampunk lip art, complete with real watch parts to yield a retro-futuristic 3D invention. I created a base layer of metallic deliciousness and gave it an oxidized and distressed feel to greater display the ineffable and glorious cogs and wheels that give life to tinkerable technologies. It may not be an actual steam-powered working machine, but it certainly winds me up. I prepared my lips with MAC Prep and Prime Lip Base. Then I rolled up my sleeves to reshape my lips with the NYX Lip Pencil in Blackberry. I traced them with a generous dose of overlining for a bigger canvas. I have the Lime Crime Liquid Lipstick in Black Velvet to smear all over my lips for a nice solid black base that will allow maximum depth and vibrancy of the pigments I'm about to play with. Using a good lip brush and smiling like a demented psycho helps. I whipped out the Sugar Pill pigment in Penelope, which I'm liquefying with MAC Fix Plus to create a paste, and I'm slapping it around the outer areas of my lips. I'm avoiding the very edges, corners, and keeping the center free from copper goodness. I feather at the periphery to soften the lines, so there isn't as much of a crisp edge. The next metallic pigment is Sugar Pill Goldilocks, and using MAC Fix Plus again, I dissolved it into a puree and scribbled it on the corners of my lips, tickling it in towards the copper shade to merge the colors seamlessly. I also scrubbed that along the peaks of my Cupid's bow to germinate the gold seed there, and brought it in along the lower perimeter of the copper, just to add a taste of the golden gleam. This is the Lime Crime Metallic Lipstick in Blondie. I'm mixing the copper pigment with the rose gold lipstick to create a paler shade, and I'm patting that around the inner rim of the copper to fade the color out and introduce different lustrous tones and a central highlighted area. I tinkered with Sugar Pill pigment in Tiara. I lightly dabbed the silver on around the central rim, and I'm wiping off my brush to then spread the love. I don't want the silver to be too bright, so I'm buffing it out and going in with more of that rose gold and copper blend, and I'm softening the shade with my fingertip. I'm dipping my finger into the silver to enhance the highlight, and I'm furthering the gradient by rubbing on some copper, which is also really polishing up the shine of it. I wanted to jazz up the gold and bring it out a bit more, so it came to the party again. I took the cleaned off brush and scraped it around the perimeter to make it more fuzzy. I jumped back to the black lipstick because I wanted to introduce a distressed look to the edges by feathering on a tiny amount of product and rubbing it out with my finger. I kept this random and gave the metal a tarnished look, using the same technique across the lips. I darkened up the corners of the lips with more black velvet liquid lipstick, making sure to tap it out with my finger so it's a soft effect. I continued the oxidized feel through the very inside of my lips in an organic, uneven appearance. And I'm left with this antique metal base lip that's a nice design in itself. The black around the edges and middle adds to the roughed up metal idea I was going for as an undercoat to display these magnificent tiny cogs and wheels that I bought off eBay. They are fucking scrumptious, and I'm so excited to play with them. I grabbed out some tools to manipulate the cogs and the prosthetic glue called Pros-Aid. I started by applying a bit of glue to the back of the chosen watch piece and placing it in a random spot on my lips. Then I tried a different tact and added the glue directly to my lips in dots to place the cogs over the top. And finally I settled on applying a thin layer of adhesive in patches over my lips, letting it dry for a while, then placing the little module securely over it before pressing it down. And I found that was the best way to do it. I didn't have a specific design in mind. All I knew was I wanted these tasty bits of metal all over me. These bits and bobs kept getting stuck to my tweezers because they are magnetized with a polarity that makes them very attracted to my tweezers. Every time I tried to pick up a single piece, a bunch came out of the pot with it. That's why I switched to the Embelly Jelly stick to better control these machine components. It's basically a stick with some wax on the end. I find it invaluable for these kind of lip art looks. Some of these cogs have prongs in the middle, which would usually aid with the synchronized rotation inside the contraption. I broke some of them off to draw attention to the specific spoked design of some of the wheels, but I did keep some of the perpendicular spikes jutting out to yield an even more three-dimensional appearance to this lip art. I mean, you know how much I love spikes. I was really enjoying myself finding a home for these orphaned watch segments and plucking out the different colored metallic pieces to have some playtime on my lips. I simply tried to vary the location of similar looking elements as well as fit things together to cover the most space over my depiction of steampunk as lip art. After I was done encrusting my lips with all the different shapes and I was thoroughly exhilarated and satisfied with the result, I was left with this anachronistic madness that maxed out my awesome levels. I've always been fascinated with the inner workings of contraptions and the teeny tiny shiny components that make them tick, so I let my enchantment by those elements work its way onto my lips. When I originally envisioned this lip, I was just going to do the metallic gradient, but I'm glad when I got down to it, I decided to do the black base and then built it up to the tarnished look all around the joint. So I turned the usual utilitarian boring lip tutorial into an invention of a more retro-futuristic technology. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this neo-Victorian steampunk lip art tutorial. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Also check out my band and podcast on iTunes. And I have my PO box in the description box.